What's up guys, Alec here, and today I want to talk a little bit about Kinobody, aka Greg Gallagher, and his new Natty verified movement, or whatever the heck he's calling it. I watched a little bit of what Greg has to say about this whole thing, his revolutionary idea that's going to fix the fitness industry once and for all, and finally clean up the garbage and set realistic expectations for natties and all that mumbo jumbo crap. So I guess the Bruce Wayne of the fitness industry is finally doing his part to clean up Gotham City. And he seems to be getting a large amount of support from the community, which is cool, I guess. Every other time I browse the comment section on one of his videos, it was literally nothing but people making fun of him with Greg the type of guy jokes. But this time he seems to have drawn out the seriousness in people for whatever reason, and they appear to be standing behind him on this one. Which, like I said, that's cool, if not a little bit misguided, but I'm not really here to judge that aspect of it. Anyway though, I've also checked out a few responses from other fitness YouTubers as well, and it seems to be kind of what you'd expect there. A healthy mix of responses that run the gamut all the way from, wow, what a fantastic idea, Greg, you have my full support, along with, sounds like a good idea in theory, but it definitely won't work out in practice. And of course, all peppered in with, that guy's an idiot and that idea sucks. But I kind of want to approach this thing from a little bit of a different perspective than everybody else. I'm less concerned with Greg's whole idea here, and I honestly really couldn't give two shits one way or the other what becomes of it. For all I care, we can crown him the Natty King for life tomorrow, or this thing can flop on its ass and everyone forgets about it in 3 months. Or, like my man Freaky D mentioned, it could even act as a vault to propel all the fake natties who pass the test into even higher, faker natty territory. Who the fuck really cares? There are basically 3 ways this can end up working out. Option 1, Greg becomes the Natty King, and people buy more useless supplements from him than they are right now. Good for him. I'm pretty sure that is his plan. Option 2, the collective squirrel attention span kicks in and everyone forgets about the challenge in 3 months and nothing changes. Or option 3, the fake natties pass the test and become faker natties. The public at large is none the wiser, and people continue to buy useless supplements from them just like they are right now. So pretty much nothing changes. Do any of these really sound like endgame scenarios that you or I or any of us should give a flying fuck about? This little hashtag Natty verified challenge or whatever, it's just fodder. It's just another distraction. It might help Greg sell a few more tubs of Keno Octane, or it might not. But the players are already at the table, and nobody's gonna give them the boot anytime soon. But here's the thing I really want to touch on though, and it has to do with the idea of physical and psychological limits. And for you guys who've been following me for a little while now, you've probably started to figure out by now, just from little tangents here and there, that I'm a little bit of a sucker for sports psychology. Now, I'm not gonna stand up here and tell you that a dude who's been sticking needles up his ass for the last 15 years and claiming that he's all natty bro is a good thing or anything like that. But it does bring rise to an interesting and almost philosophical dilemma. Hear me out now. Is it possible that the existence of fake natties has actually pushed many people, myself included, to heights far beyond what they would have otherwise achieved, both by way of some people reaching these greater absolute heights simply because they always believed they should be able to, because they always thought that the so-called natty ceiling was much higher than it actually is, as well as by way of people who are super competitive by nature, simply using those fake naturals as a source of motivation to push themselves to go higher and to go farther. When I'm driving my car and I get abruptly cut off or someone kind of drifts into my lane all willy-nilly, the question I always ponder is it better for that person to be ignorant or an asshole? Is it better that they simply had no idea what was going on around them and they cut me off because they had no idea that my car was even there? Or is it better for them to have just been a complete dickhead who was fully aware that I was occupying that space at that time, but chose to move into it anyway because they figured I would rather not get into an accident and that I would simply move out of the way? Ignorant or asshole? Same kind of idea here, but in a slightly more positive sense. Now, if you're ignorant of who's truly using and who's truly not, then you're gonna think that you can surpass the quote-unquote natty limit because you don't even know it exists, and all you see is other people who have surpassed it. And then on the other end of it, if you are aware of who is truly using and who's truly not, but you're just so damn arrogant that you think you can become better than the gear users without the gear, well, then you're just the type of asshole who probably has a pretty damn good chance of getting there. I know for me personally, I've had an inkling for quite some time now about who may or may not be running gear. But rather than use that as a deterrent, I've always found it to be a source of great motivation. I think I alluded to this somewhat in a video I made last year about some of my experiences with maxing out on the squat every day. I had read about the idea long before it became popular, and I thought it sounded cool at the time. But mostly, I only ended up actually doing it because I kept repeatedly hearing people say that it can't be done without drugs. And I wanted to prove to myself that I was better than everyone else, and therefore I could not only succeed, but flourish without using drugs while performing a method of training that could only supposedly be survived by people who were using drugs. And to this day, I made some of the craziest gains of my life following that program. And that was in fact how I hit my first ever 5-plate squat. In sports, the notion that you're only as good as your competition and that you need to compete against people better than you to push you to your limits and bring out the best in you and ultimately bring you to your peak form is a very prevalent idea. And I think it's similar to the fake natty dilemma as well. A natty lifter or athlete with a competitive spirit, whether they're aware of the potentially pervasive PED usage going on around them or not, is never going to use that as a cop-out for why they haven't gotten to where they want to be. And let's be very clear here. That's exactly what it is. It's a cop-out. Somebody else elevating their game by being on drugs doesn't in any single way, shape, or form hinder the progress that you as an individual will make in the gym or on the playing field. And we're not out here trying to shave fucking 5/100ths of a second off our already sub 10 meter time so that we can snag Bolt's world record from him. We're just dudes trying to get as strong and muscular and athletic as we possibly can. And speaking of Usain Bolt, we can take a look at another recent example straight from the world of track and field. That kid, Matt Bowling, just ran 9.98 in the 100 meter in Texas a couple weeks ago. And I know it was wind aided and all that, but let's think about that run for a second. The world record is currently held by Bolt at 9.58 seconds. Just 30 or so years ago, barely any professional sprinters had officially even cracked the 10-second barrier, and the world record was still 9.9 something until Ben Johnson came along in the late 80s and started smashing shit. And we all know his times were all rescinded, but that's another story. But my point is, wind aided or not, if the world record was still 9.93 seconds, like it was just 32 years ago in 1987, do you really think that some 18-year-old kid who's almost certainly drug-free and in high school would have come along and run a time that was just 5/100ths of a second off of the existing world record? I fucking doubt it. In fact, even if the circumstances that he hit that run in were identical, with the literal only difference in the world being that the world record for the 100-meter dash was 9.93 seconds rather than 9.58 seconds, I guarantee you that he wouldn't have even come close to cracking 10 seconds in his run, because a high school sprinter shouldn't be able to come that close to the maximum level of performance. But the world record isn't 9.93 seconds. The world record is 9.58 seconds. So the perception of what's possible has been elevated. Now, did Usain Bolt use PEDs during his career? I'm not going to answer that. You can mull it over and come to your own conclusion. Does Matt Bowling think that Usain Bolt used PEDs to achieve his historic world record run? Maybe, maybe not. You'd have to ask him that. But either way, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because the absolute ceiling is higher, and that seeps down to every single level of the sport and elevates performance across the board, even amongst those who aren't using performance-enhancing drugs. So, am I saying that fake natties are a good thing? Not quite. They're generally self-serving dickheads, but they exist, and when they're gone, something else just as unethical that we haven't even thought of yet will swoop in to take their place, and that's just human nature, and that just is what it is. But You can observe what they've done and what they've achieved and take the existence of this negative concept and use it as fuel to turn that negative into something positive. You can certainly look to others to see what's possible. If that's something that gets you motivated to work harder and strive to break past limits and all that. But you have to learn to spin it into a positive source of motivation. It shouldn't be a deterrent. It shouldn't discourage you from trying your best simply because someone has gone so much further than where you currently are. Because how far they've gone and how far they might currently be away from you doesn't affect how far that you can go. And frankly, at some point, you need to just put your head down and work really fucking hard for a really long time. And until you've done that, you have absolutely no right to complain about your lack of progress and the unrealistic expectations you had that were set forth by fake nannies. And if you just do that, if you just work a little bit harder and a little bit smarter and a little bit longer than the next guy, if you stop putting the onus onto other people and instead shift it back onto yourself in the work that you know you have to do, and trust me, you are the only one who can do that work for yourself, then I think you'll come to find that you're able to make far greater progress than you ever thought you could. And ultimately, you will be content with how far that you're physically and psychologically able to go. And you won't need performance-enhancing drugs to get there, and at that point, you really won't give two flying fucks about who's a fake natty and who's natural. And I think we can all agree that that's a better place to be. Anyway, that's all I got for today, guys. Please be sure to like the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and definitely leave me some love in the comments down below. Keep training hard, and I will catch you guys next time.